what if the only thing stopping you is what you've been told to believe? Think about it. From the time you were young, people have whispered limits into your ears. You can't do that. That's not realistic. People like us don't make it that far. Over time, those voices didn't just surround you. They became a part of you. They built walls in your mind, invisible ones you didn't question because they came from parents, teachers, society. So you shrunk yourself to fit inside them. You played it safe. You aimed lower. You settled. Not because you weren't capable, but because you believed the lie that you weren't. But deep down, you've always felt it. That pull, that fire, that whisper inside that says there's more, that you were meant for something greater, that the life they told you was impossible might actually be yours if only you had the courage to chase it. But you hesitated, not because of laziness or weakness, but because every time you tried, someone reminded you of your place. Every step you took forward, someone tried to shrink your vision back down to their comfort level. That's how average is protected. It survives by convincing others that greatness is just fantasy. You've been carrying their limits, carrying their fears, their regrets, their version of what's possible. And here's the truth they never told you. Most people who say it can't be done are really saying they couldn't do it. But you're not them. You have power inside you they never saw. You have strength built from scars they couldn't survive. You have the hunger to rise when others choose to sleep. And if you're still breathing, still standing, then the page isn't done, no matter how many chapters they've tried to close for you. What if everything you thought was impossible was just unfamiliar? Not a brick wall, just a door you've never opened. What if the people who laughed at your dreams were simply afraid you might prove them wrong? Because that's what your breakthrough will do. It won't just change your life. It will shatter the illusion for everyone who ever doubted, ridiculed, or tried to limit you. And that's why you must keep going. Stay here, listen closely. Because the next few minutes will not just speak to your mind, they'll ignite your spirit. You'll remember who you were before fear took over, before doubt buried your potential. You'll feel what they didn't want you to feel, clarity, belief, and unstoppable drive. You'll understand that impossible is not a fact. It's a story. And stories can be rewritten. Don't walk away. Not now. You owe this to the version of you who still believes, who still dreams, who still knows that something extraordinary is waiting if you just dare to go further than you ever have. This is your moment to rise, to challenge the lie, to prove that they were wrong, and you were always more powerful than they could imagine. If you've ever felt like something inside you was meant for more, you're right. But feeling it isn't enough. You have to understand what's been standing in your way. It's not your talent. It's not your circumstances. It's not luck. It's what you've allowed yourself to believe. The mind is powerful. It builds the world you live in. And if that world is small, heavy, filled with fear, it's because you were taught to see it that way, not because it's true. The way you think decides the way you live, and every day you spend believing you're not enough, you lose time, precious time. There's a part of your brain that filters your world. It only lets in what it believes matters. If you think you're powerless, you'll ignore every sign of your strength. If you think your dream is impossible, you'll never see the open door right in front of you. But the moment you change your belief, the world begins to shift. Possibilities appear. The impossible starts to bend, not because it suddenly got easier, but because you finally saw what was always there. Your belief doesn't just predict your outcome. It creates it. You've been told to be realistic, to play safe, to shrink your vision to fit into other people's comfort zones. But what they call realistic is often just fear dressed as wisdom. It's the language of people who stop believing in themselves. The truth is, most limits are imagined, and the ones that are real, they can be moved, bent, broken, but not by people who wait for permission. Not by those who wait to feel ready, only by those who act, even when everything inside them screams to stop. The mind will resist anything unfamiliar. It wants you to stay where it's safe, where it's known. That's how survival works. But greatness doesn't live in safety. It lives in the unknown. It grows where comfort ends. And if you want to become someone you've never been, you'll have to start doing things you've never done. You'll have to stop asking if it's possible and start deciding that it is. Not someday, not when things get easier. But now, with what you have, as you are, you don't need a perfect plan. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need to stop doubting yourself long enough to take the first step. Every dream, every breakthrough, every miracle begins with one moment of decision when someone chooses to believe despite the noise, despite the fear, despite the odds, and that moment could be yours right now. This is your chance to break free from the patterns that kept you stuck, to see with new eyes, to feel what it's like to take control of your story. You were never weak. You were never lost. You just forgot the power that belief holds. But now you remember, and with that memory comes a choice to rise, to act, and to never again let the word impossible define you. Fear will always show up when you're close to change. It's not a weakness. It's not a flaw. It's a signal, proof that you're standing at the edge of something greater. But most people run from that edge. They retreat the moment fear tightens its grip. They confuse fear with danger, forgetting that fear lives even where no real threat exists. The brain is wired to protect, not to elevate. It will warn you against risk. It will scream when you step into the unknown, not because you're about to fail, but because you're about to grow, and growth feels like danger when all you've known is comfort. You can't conquer the impossible without facing the voice that tells you to turn back. That voice will disguise itself as reason, logic, practicality. But beneath it lies fear, and fear is a liar. It wants you small. It wants you safe. But you weren't made to live inside the walls of fear. You were made to break them, not once, but over and over, because every next level of your life demands a greater level of courage. And that courage doesn't come from waiting. It comes from moving through fear, not around it. There is a war inside your mind. One side pulls you toward growth, the other towards safety. Every choice you make feeds one of those sides. Every moment you hesitate, you give more power to the fear that built your cage. But when you act, even when afraid, you send a message to your brain, I am not controlled by fear. I lead, not follow. And that's when everything begins to shift. You stop being a prisoner of emotion and start becoming a creator of action. Fear won't disappear, but it doesn't need to. Your goal isn't to erase fear. It's to master it, to hear its voice and walk forward anyway. That's how you build real confidence. Not by waiting until the fear is gone, but by proving to yourself through action that you can do hard things, that you can stand in discomfort and still choose growth, that you can feel terrified and still move forward. Every great transformation begins with fear, but it's not the fear that defines the outcome. It's what you do with it. Will you shrink back into old patterns? Or will you break through and show the world a version of you they've never seen? You already know what it's like to listen to fear. You've lived that life. You've seen what it steals. Now it's time to feel something different. The fire that comes when you choose bravery over comfort. The power that rises when you stare fear in the face and walk through it. You don't need to be fearless. You need to be bold. You need to take the step even when your legs shake. Because what waits on the other side of fear is not just a dream. It's the proof that nothing was ever truly impossible. Only untried, only unlived, until now. The difference between those who dream and those who achieve lies in what they do when motivation fades. Because it will. The fire you feel now, the clarity, the strength, life will try to dim it. Not all at once, but slowly, through doubt, distraction, delay. And when that moment comes, when the noise of the world grows louder than your purpose, discipline becomes your only anchor. Not the kind that weighs you down, but the kind that holds you steady in the storm. Discipline is not about feeling like it. It's about doing it anyway. It's not built on emotion. It's built on decision. The decision to keep showing up even when no one sees. Even when the results aren't instant. Even when the path feels lonely, slow, and uncertain. That's when most give up. They expect progress to shout. But real growth whispers. It happens quietly, in the dark, in the repetition, in the early mornings, in the late nights, when you choose effort over ease, purpose over pleasure, progress over perfection. The world will tell you that success is about talent, about timing, about luck. But they're wrong. It's about consistency. The relentless daily disciplined repetition of small actions that compound into something massive. Discipline isn't glamorous, it won't get applause, but it builds the foundation for everything you want. Without it, even the strongest motivation will collapse, because dreams without discipline are just wishes. They float, they fade, but when fueled by action, they become unshakable. You don't need massive leaps. You need honest steps, taken every day, taken when you're tired, taken when you're uninspired. Because every time you show up for your dream, you build trust with yourself. You silence the voice that says, you'll never change. You prove that you are not defined by how you feel, but by what you do. That is the power of discipline. It turns chaos into focus. It turns doubt into direction. It turns the impossible into progress. No one is born with discipline. It's forged in resistance, strengthened in discomfort. Every time you push past what's easy, you carve a new identity, one that says, I don't break, I build. And over time, you'll look back and realize the days you wanted to quit were the days that defined you, not because they were easy, but because you didn't let them stop you. The people who achieve what others call impossible aren't superhuman. They've just mastered the art of showing up, of doing the work, of keeping promises to themselves when no one's watching. And that's available to you right now. You don't need a better plan. You need relentless commitment, one day at a time, one choice at a time. That's how it happens. Not in loud moments of glory, but in quiet moments of grit. Your power isn't in what you dream. It's in what you do repeatedly. That's where transformation lives, and that's where your impossible becomes inevitable. The moment you begin to rise, the world will test you, not with silence, but with noise, with opinions, with judgment. The more you grow, the more visible you become. And with that visibility comes resistance. People will question you, or doubt you, laugh at you, not because they know your limits, but because you remind them of their own. Your progress becomes a mirror, and not everyone likes what they see in it, so they'll try to bring you back down. They're not always out of hate, but out of fear. Because if you succeed, their excuses start to fall apart. Rejection will come, ridicule will come. But that doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. Often it's the clearest sign that you're finally walking a path worth something. You have to understand that greatness is lonely at first. Not because people don't care, but because most can't see what you see. They haven't trained their mind to look beyond what is and imagine what could be. You have. That vision you carry is yours alone, and no one else needs to understand it. They don't need to believe in it. Only you do. If you spend your life trying to be accepted, you'll never be free. You'll keep trading your growth for comfort, your future for approval. And every time you do, you lose a part of yourself. You weren't born to blend in. You weren't built to be understood by everyone. Your journey is different, and that's not a weakness. It's a responsibility. To lead, to break patterns, to show others what's possible when you stop asking for permission and start walking in purpose. The truth is, not everyone will clap for you. Some will walk away. Some will stay silent. Some will hope you fail. Let them. Their silence isn't your failure. Their doubt isn't your truth. You don't rise to be liked. You rise to become who you were meant to be. And the only way to do that is to stop filtering your actions through the fear of rejection. You can't hold greatness in one hand and cling to approval with the other. You have to choose. And if you're brave enough to keep going, even when it feels like the world is against you, you'll earn something far greater than applause. You'll earn self-respect. Rejection hurts, but regret cuts deeper.
One day the voices will quiet.
The doubters will fade. And all that will matter is whether you kept going when it was hard, whether you chose your calling over their comfort, whether you built your life around who you were becoming, not who they said you were. That's what lasts. That's what lives on. You are not here to be accepted by the world. You are here to rise, to lead, to become the proof that what they called impossible was simply unattempted. Keep going, keep building. Let rejection refine you. Let ridicule sharpen you. Because when the world finally sees what you always believed, they won't call you crazy. They'll call you unstoppable. Every time you rise despite the noise, you move closer to becoming the evidence, the living proof that it can be done, that the impossible was never real. It was only unclaimed. Most people never see the other side because they stop halfway. They look around, don't see results, and assume nothing is changing. But everything is changing. Every step, every push, every moment you refuse to give up is creating a shift inside you, around you, in the way the world responds to you. The results are often invisible until they're undeniable. You weren't born to chase approval or wait for permission. You were born to be the reason someone else dares to try. Someone right now is watching you, silently wondering if they can do it too. They're waiting to see if someone like them, with the same fears, the same doubts, the same struggles, can break through. And when you do, you don't just change your life. You give them a reason to believe. That's why your breakthrough matters. That's why you must keep going. Because the world doesn't need more people talking about possibility. It needs people living it. The road will keep testing your commitment. It will ask you if you're serious. It will tempt you to go back, to slow down, to settle. But every time you resist that temptation, you grow stronger. You begin to separate from the old version of yourself, the one who needed proof before taking action. Now you move with faith, with conviction, with a fire that can't be explained, only felt. You no longer ask if it's possible. You've already decided it is, and that decision becomes your weapon, your compass, your guide. Being the evidence means you don't wait for conditions to be perfect. You don't wait until the fear is gone, the doubt is gone, the timing is perfect. You build in the storm. You move when it's messy. You create while others complain. And eventually the same people who questioned you will want to know how you did it. They'll ask for the map. They'll want the answers. But by then you won't just have a map. You'll be the map. You'll be the proof. Not because you were the most gifted, but because you refuse to let fear define you. Let this sink in. Your success is not just about you. It's about everyone watching who's been told they can't. Everyone who's been made to feel small, broken, incapable. When you rise, you break more than your own limits. You shatter generations of doubt. You rewrite what's possible for those who come after you. That's the power you carry. That's the impact you hold. So become it. The one who didn't stop. The one who didn't flinch. The one who proved that the line between impossible and real is just action, just belief, just relentless, quiet courage. Be the proof that no one expected. Be the light for those still in the dark. Be the one they point to and say, because they did it, I believe I can too. There comes a moment when you stop looking for signs and start becoming one, a moment when you no longer need validation because your vision burns brighter than your doubt. You stop asking the world if you're ready. You stop needing confirmation because you've already decided, not based on what's around you, but based on what's inside you. That's when everything shifts, when your identity catches up with your intention, when the voice in your head no longer whispers fear, it starts to echo purpose. You realize that you were never waiting for the right time. You were only waiting to remember who you are. You are the turning point, the breaking cycle, the beginning of a new path, or what they said couldn't be done is already happening through you, not because it's easy, not because you have all the answers, but because you made a decision to no longer be who you used to be. You left the old identity behind, the one that made excuses, the one that hesitated, the one that waited. That version died the moment you chose to rise. And in its place, something unstoppable was born. Not perfect, not fearless, but focused, aligned, unwilling to settle for anything less than growth. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You're not here to match anyone's pace. You're here to own your lane, to build your own rhythm, to trust your own fire. There is no competition when you're walking your own path. The only person you must outperform is the one you were yesterday. That's your race. That's your mission. And with each step forward, you're sending a message, not just to the world, but to yourself. I am not who I used to be. I'm not going back. You're no longer available for your old excuses. You're no longer entertaining the habits that kept you small. You're no longer feeding the doubts that held you hostage. You've outgrown them. And now the only thing that fits is discipline, purpose, progress. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your transformation. Let your growth speak. Let your results echo louder than your words. The world doesn't need to understand your process. It only needs to witness your consistency. You were not born to live on repeat. You were born to evolve, to create, to rise, and you're doing it right now. Every decision you make in alignment with your highest self rewires your mind. It expands your capacity. It sharpens your vision. You're not chasing the impossible anymore. You're walking in it, becoming it, living proof that the person you once only imagined is real, breathing, moving, rising. This is where you stop doubting and start owning, where you shift from chasing to embodying.
You are no longer becoming, you are.
And as you stand in that truth, everything you once feared loses its power. Everything they said you couldn't do begins to fall into place because you refused to quit. You refused to shrink. You chose to rise. And now the impossible belongs to you.